I, 35F, have been married to my husband, 37M, for 8 years. We have 2 kids, a son who is 6 and a daughter who is 4. My job is extremely demanding. I work as a corporate architect at a big architectural firm and regularly work 60-70 hours per week. The work is stressful, but I make good money and my career is very important to me. My husband is a high school teacher and his job is much less demanding than mine in terms of hours and stress. He works from around 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. most of the days and has a lot of time off during the summer and holidays. Recently, my husband has been complaining a lot that I don't spend enough quality time with him and the family. He says I am always working and when I am home, I am distracted and not fully present. He gets frustrated that I miss family events or have to take calls/answer emails when we do things together. I understand where this is coming from, but I honestly don't know what to do. My job requires insane hours and I can't just not work those hours. If I don't work as hard as I do, I could get fired and lose everything we have worked for financially. It is not like I enjoy being gone so much. I would love to have more of a normal schedule. But this is the career I chose and it has serious demands. Last weekend was particularly bad. On Saturday morning I had to jump on a conference call at 7 a.m. that lasted over 4 hours. I tried to be quiet in the home office, but the kids were making noise and at one point my husband came in angrily telling me my call was disrupting their morning. I did my best to minimize disruptions. Then on Sunday I had to go into the office for a few hours to work on a structural design due Monday morning. My husband was furious and gave me the cold shoulder when I got home. He told me in front of the kids that I am a shitty mom and a shitty wife and I should be ashamed of myself for constantly putting my job ahead of my family. I broke down crying after he said that. I run myself ragged trying to be successful at work while also being present at home as much as humanly possible. I don't know what more I can do. I can't quit my job, our entire lifestyle and ability to pay the mortgage, bills, kids' activities, etc. depends on my salary. He doesn't seem to get how high the stakes are. After that blow up, he started venting to his family about what a terrible wife I am who is always gone working. I found out because his sister reached out to me on Facebook with this concerned message saying she hopes I can find more balance, for the sake of my marriage and kids. I was mortified. Now his entire family thinks I am some kind of awful, neglectful wife and mother. They don't know the half of what I sacrifice and juggle on a daily basis to be successful in both my career and family life. No one gives working moms like me any credit, it's always criticism. I don't know what to do. I have tried everything. Getting babysitters so we can have date nights, taking chunks of time off work when I can, shutting off email notifications in the evenings, you name it. It will never be enough for my husband. Should I just quit my job and be a stay-at-home mom? That's the only thing that would satisfy him, but then we would be in a disastrous financial situation. He doesn't seem to care about that. Sorry for the rant, but I am at my wit's end here. Does anyone have advice? My husband and I are in marriage counseling, which has helped somewhat. But he will not let up about this issue. He just thinks I am in the wrong career and that I need to figure out work-life balance, no matter how impossible that feels to me. I could use some perspective and support right now as I feel pretty beaten down. Unfortunately, as months passed, things have only gotten worse between us. My husband seems to be pulling away from me and our marriage. I decided I needed to take action to try to save our relationship before it was too late. I know I can't just quit my job, that was simply not an option for us financially. But I also can't have my husband continuing to resent me and grow more distant. I am afraid at this rate we are on a path to separation if things don't improve. So, I made a plan to take a rare day off work last Thursday. I cleared my schedule, arranged for the kids to stay with my parents overnight, and didn't tell my husband any of this. I wanted it to be a surprise that I was taking the whole day off just for us to spend quality time together. I left work around 3 p.m., which is very early for me. I was feeling good about taking this step for my marriage and relationship. As I was walking up to our front door, I noticed through the window that my husband was in the living room on a call, looking relaxed and cheerful as he spoke. I went ahead and let myself in through the front door to not disturb him. But I have to admit, I felt a pang of something, jealousy? Suspicion? I am not sure exactly what the emotion was. But seeing him so at ease and almost giddy while on a call gave me a weird feeling in the pit of my stomach. Anyway, he noticed me come in while he was still on the call. His whole demeanor immediately shifted and he got this panicked look on his face. He quickly said to whoever was on the other end that he had to go and he would call back later, and abruptly ended the call. That made the weird feeling even worse. Why did he seem so anxious and abruptly get off the phone when he realized I was there? Was he talking to someone he shouldn't have been? Or am I being paranoid and reading too much into it? I decided not to bring it up at that moment. I gave him a hug and told him that I had taken the day off early so we could spend some quality time together tonight before the kids get back tomorrow. His reaction was very dull, to say the least. He sort of gave me a half smile and said that it was nice of me. Not exactly the enthusiastic, grateful response I was hoping for. We ordered some food and watched a movie, but the vibe was just off. He seemed distracted and disconnected the whole time. The spark and intimacy between us had faded so much, it was heartbreaking. At one point I got fed up and finally asked what was going on with him. He seemed so checked out and looked like he couldn't care less that I took off work early to spend time with him. Was he even attracted to me or interested in our marriage anymore? He looked shocked that I was being so direct. For a few moments he was silent. Then he apologized and said that he didn't know what was wrong with him lately. He said that he just had a lot on his mind. I asked what that was and if it had to do with that call he was on when I got home. The one he abruptly ended when he realized I was here. He looked panicked again and stammered that it was nothing. Just a work call about lesson planning for next semester. I didn't fully believe him but decided to drop it for the time being. We fell into an awkward silence after that. The rest of the night was similarly uncomfortable with stretches of no conversation. As I went to bed that night feeling dejected, I realized this one night wasn't going to fix everything. In fact, it highlighted how deep the issues between us have become. Taking off work occasionally isn't going to be enough. So now I am struggling more than ever with what my next steps should be. I know I should probably get us into marriage counseling if I want to make a real effort to reconnect and heal things. I am just worried that the damage is too far gone at this point. My husband seems to be checking out emotionally. Things took an absolutely devastating turn over the past week. I now have concrete evidence that my husband has been unfaithful and is having an affair. I am still reeling from the discovery and honestly not sure how to process everything. Let me back up and explain how I found out. Last Tuesday, I had to travel out of town for a day-long site visit to one of our company's regional offices about 2 hours away. It was an early morning meeting followed by a plant tour that took most of the day. Around 1 p.m., I had a couple-hour break for lunch before a final wrap-up meeting in the late afternoon. I decided to treat myself to a nice sit-down lunch while I had some rare downtime away from the office and kids. I went to a highly rated restaurant downtown and got seated at a table toward the back, near the hallway that led to the restrooms. About 15 minutes into my meal, I glanced up and saw my husband walk in the front entrance with a young woman, probably early to mid-20s. They were laughing together and he had his hand on the small of her back as he led her to their table. She was very pretty, long blonde hair, slim figure, young and bubbly. I will admit, my heart dropped into my stomach as soon as I saw them together. That sick, queasy feeling immediately took over as my mind started racing. Who was this woman and why was she having an intimate lunch with my husband while I was away on a work trip? They got seated at a table about 15 feet from me, with his back facing my direction. They didn't seem to notice me at all. I sat stunned, not really knowing what to do. Part of me wanted to storm over and demand answers right there. But another part of me felt if I made a scene, it would only embarrass and escalate the situation more. So, I decided to sit still, keep my head down and observe quietly without letting on that I saw them. Maybe I was overreacting and this was just a friendly lunch? An attractive young work colleague or grad student he was mentoring? That is what I tried to tell myself, though it felt like I was lying to myself. I heard their conversation a bit throughout the meal, though I couldn't make out specifics. They were giggling and gazing into each other's eyes frequently. At one point she put her hand on his arm in a lingering way that seemed far too intimate. He never once pulled away or discouraged the physical contact. They were there about an hour before he paid the check and they departed. Her arm looped through his as they walked out together. I remained seated until after they left. As the valet pulled his car around, I finally got a clear view of her face. She was absolutely stunning, perfect skin, huge blue eyes, chiseled facial features. No wonder he was mesmerized. I sat there for quite a while after that, feeling completely crushed and defeated. This was so much worse than I could have imagined. My husband seemed to be carrying on an affair with this young, beautiful woman right under my nose while I was putting in 70 hours a week to provide for our family. I have to admit, I spiraled for the rest of the day. Getting through the wrap-up meetings felt nearly impossible as intrusive thoughts bombarded me about what I had just witnessed. I considered confronting him as soon as I got home that evening, but the hurt and anger was so intense that I knew it wouldn't be productive. I wouldn't be able to control my emotions. Instead of confronting him that first night, I decided to bide my time and try to get hard evidence before approaching him. The thought of being gaslit or having him deny anything was happening was unbearable. I wanted proof. Over the next couple of days, I went into full investigator mode. I started looking through all his emails, laptop history, credit card statements, social media accounts, anything to get a clue about who this woman was and how long the affair had been going on. Let us call her Ashley since I don't want to use her real name. What I uncovered was soul-crushing. Love letters, credit card charges for jewelry and hotel stays, hundreds of texts and emails using pet names like Baby and Love. It seemed the affair had been happening for over 6 months. According to her Instagram, Ashley is 24 years old and was one of my husband's former students when he taught at the local college a few years ago. As I poured through the evidence, I realized just how carefully he had been leading this double life. When I came home early that one evening a few weeks ago and caught him abruptly ending a call, that must have been him talking to her. All the times he went to pick up dinner late or ran to the store real quick, he was probably going to see her. I spent most of the past few days absolutely devastated, crying at every private moment I had. The one person I trusted most in the world had betrayed me in such a fundamental way with some young girl. The details of what I uncovered were traumatic. I finally broke down and confronted him last night. I laid out all the evidence on the table, from the credit card charges and hotel receipts to the incriminating emails and text exchanges. I told him exactly what I had witnessed at the restaurant as well. There was no denying it at that point. His response was to collapse into a sobbing heap, blubbering about how he was so sorry and ashamed of his actions. He said Ashley had been pursuing him and he had gotten in over his head, swept up in the ego boost of having an attractive young woman obsessed with him. But that it had all been a huge mistake and he knew he had made unforgivable choices that destroyed my trust. I will spare all the excruciating details, but the night devolved into hours of recounting his betrayal, me unleashing my anger and disgust, and him repeatedly apologizing and vowing he would do anything to save our marriage and family. I am still not sure I believe most of what came out of his mouth. It all felt like an excuse-laden attempt at damage control. The most sickening part was when he admitted that he had used some of the money I earned from my high-pressure job to pay for gifts, hotels and other expenses related to his illicit relationship. I lost it at that point. How dare he use the fruits of my sacrifice and hard work to fund his infidelity? It was stomach-churning and I am not sure I will ever forgive him for that level of disrespect. In the end, he is now staying at his brother's house temporarily while we navigate next steps. I honestly don't know if I will ever trust him enough to consider staying together. He violated my trust and our marriage vows in such a fundamental way. Not to mention putting my sexual health at risk by being with another woman. I feel sick and heartbroken. Through all of this, work has been extremely difficult and stressful. I have been barely keeping it together. I have missed meetings and deadlines, screwed up some assignments, and am worried I may get fired if the drop in my performance continues. I haven't told anyone there about my situation as I don't want them to see me differently or question my commitment. So now I am left struggling from every angle. I am losing my marriage. My work performance is in the gutter. And I have 2 young kids completely oblivious to the trauma I am enduring. I have never felt more alone and helpless. If you have made it through this horrific saga, thank you for taking the time to bear witness. I could really use some support, advice or even just some kind words right now. I am not in a good place and wrestling with incredibly difficult decisions that will impact my whole family for years to come. Any perspective would be much appreciated as I navigate this nightmare.